Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. I am Atlas. I am joined once again by the wonderful LS. LS, how you doing, man? How's your couple of days off from the LCK?
Well, Atlas, LCS is co-streaming on pretty weird days this week, so I haven't totally had the most off days in total, but from LCK, it's nice to get another break again. Another small break.
Yeah.
Reset. And now we're back to pretty much a normal schedule.
Yeah, dude, it's going to feel like we've got the shortest days ever. It's going to be insane. Also, just to let you guys know, normally here in the LCK, we have the start at 5 p.m. and then the next match, no matter what happens, starts at 8. That is not how it's going to work. It's just going to be a 30-minute break and then straight into the next game. I think that has to do with the fact that there is no one able to actually buy tickets because, of course, due to the coronavirus, we don't have an audience at LOL Park and all that sort of stuff. So it will just be games running into one another. So we might have a crazy early night, theoretically, because there's only 2 best of 3s. What is this? It's unheard of. Days are going to be so short.
Days are going to be super, super short. And if you take a look at the standings, 3 teams are already inside of playoffs. This is going to be neck and neck because these are the last few days of the overall season for all of these teams. So DAMWON right now, they have a match here to kick things off, and their match is more to sort of solidify themselves in the playoffs, whereas Griffin, they need to win every single match to have a chance at getting out of relegation zone.
They are not mathematically down in the last, like this is going to be the final promotion tournament ever. And Griffin might find themselves fighting for their lives as one of the last 2 teams to ever have to fight for your lives here in the LCK. I feel like it's even more pressure because this is going to be the final promotion tournament before franchising kicks in 2021, which is a whole nother situation. We are going to get as much information as possible, but this is the path to relegation for these teams, and it's all on the line here. Griffin with, I guess, an easier schedule, you might say, than some of the other teams. APK in trouble against Gen.G and DRX in their last few games. DRX and T1 for a Freaka. I mean, that's going to be dangerous, but thankfully they have some wins under their belt. And I think this is about who's going to join Griffin in those relegation matches, because if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure if Griffin lose to DAMWON here, they're guaranteed relegation zone.
Yeah, so Griffin, it does get pretty scary, obviously, because they don't have the easiest of matches coming up. But when you look at teams like Hanwha Life, they're going up against Gen.G as well. They have that in their schedule. APK is going to go up against Gen.G later on tonight. DRX to finish off things. And Sandbox, they have a T1, a slightly struggling KT, but then they end up going up against DAMWON as well. So a lot of these teams do still have big-name opponents left remaining for them, and we'll have to see how everything shapes up. Tonight's matches really does just affect everything, as player of the game standings currently, Chovy at 1,000 points, aiming at 900, and Gen.G with 2 members actually trailing both of them.
Yep, brothers, BDD and Clid sitting at 800 points apiece. They could possibly get some more of those points because they're going up against APK at the end of the night. As we have a look at Pick and Ban top 5 statistics, it is looking very, very similar, but maybe Trundle poking his head a little bit further up this list than he was last week, as he has been the priority jungler all through the last week of LCK.
Yeah, and Set remaining at 100%, along with Aphelios, Varus at 97.1%, and LeBlanc 94.3%. Probably should see her banned or picked again more here today. And the interesting thing about these stats is that I believe that Trundle and LeBlanc, if they do stay under the 95%, they do avoid that nerf, that guaranteed nerf that we've talked about on the broadcast before, that I believe Riot made the post about. Whereas the other champions, they're destined for it. Not that it's going to matter all that much. We're going to enter into the off season soon. We're all locked on 10-6. And Wukong is disabled. But now let's take a look at points of the match. If DAMWON wins today, they will advance to the playoffs versus no one knows yet. Griffin has to keep up their hope. Obviously, Griffin is not in control of their own destiny. They also have to rely on the teams above them to lose, as they need to keep on winning. And DAMWON, they 2-0'd APK, or DAMWON 2-0'd APK, Hanwha Life, Afrika, and T1. Will DAMWON walk away with the 5th consecutive win? They've been sort of refinding their stride in a lot of these games. They've had the better ends of some of the drafts as well, and it is looking like they're getting their groove back. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can manage to retain that here today.
Yeah, and looking at that last stat, I think that's a really interesting one. 13 isolated deaths in week 6 to 6 isolated in week 7. Noguri certainly has become a little bit more consistent, but I think what it has to do with more than anything else is that the bottom lane of DAMWON has been getting way more attention from these other teams because they've needed to, right? We saw in that series against T1, it was back-to-back Senna games with the Scion down there in one of them. For Beryl, Beryl's been playing extremely well in the support position, and it's really scary. I think that Canyon has gone through the fire and flames a little bit as a jungler and has had to experience the LCK from a losing team's perspective, which I think has allowed him to grow as a player as well. So look to see DAMWON as more of a well-oiled machine without this squad that has to be focused on the top side of the map, otherwise you lose, right? I feel like there was this blueprint for DAMWON that is now disappearing.
Yeah, and I mean, taking a look at some of the team stats here, this is all in round number 2, 4.7 KDA. Team damage per minute, they are leading in second. Average win time, both of these teams they're a little slow, Atlas. They are...
These are our two slowest.
Don't want to go and greatly reluctant fighters, so I feel like they're living up to their names.
And look at this. This stat is actually crazy, and it just shows the dominance that Griffin had and have let slip in recent months. Of course, 2018, 2019 were the years of Griffin. DAMWON coming in a little bit later alongside Sandbox, but hadn't been able to take down their former rivals in Challenger's career. This was a big story in Challenger, was DAMWON versus Griffin. DAMWON was strong unless they were versus Griffin. Very similar to the Samsung Blue and White days of old, you know, where Samsung White would beat everyone, but they could never beat Blue. It's very similar to DAMWON in Challengers, and that was true all the way up until the beginning of this year. As we have a look at the roster, nothing's going to change. Beryl holds his spot, and Ghost is still there towards the bottom side.
Yeah, and Ghost obviously been doing a lot better than Nuclear has in the past historically. I think that his presence is probably positively impacting everything as,
He's back.
Sword is back in the top lane.
All right, they've put in their powerhouse to try and take on Noguri. No more messing around here with Untara or Hoya. You got to bring back the man who was on the top side of Griffin for the longest of times to try and bring home the trophy. I don't think that this is a good idea. What are your thoughts?
I can't imagine that it is a good idea either, Atlas, as, I mean, they are on red side, and perhaps they think that DAMWON will prioritize Callista or Aphelios. Maybe they'll let them have that in exchange for Ornn. Maybe that is where we're going with this one.
Well,
in round 2, Ghost has a lot of positive statistics, as it does currently stand.
I think, yeah, Ghost certainly has some good stats. The damage per minute stat is standing out to me, but the duo proximity, I think, is the really interesting one. Both of these teams have supports that don't want to be in their lane. They just let their AD carries chill out by themselves, which is why their experience difference stats were so high, right? Because they sit alone in a lane while their supports go wandering. So we'll see whether that is going to happen, whether we're going to have a 1v1 bottom lane with roaming supports, much is akin to how DAMWON and Griffin play. But here we are in the ban and pick for game number 1. Olaf already banned, the Senna already banned, an understandable one there aimed against DAMWON. They learnt from that T1 series where DAMWON were just miraculously able to get that 2-0.
DAMWON now banning away the Varus as well. So obviously we're still looking at Aphelios. We're looking for Callista to end up getting removed.
Yeah.
Sword being back in the mix does mean that even Ornn is something that you could consider banning away.
I think Jace has also been really high priority against DAMWON because of Nogri's penchant for jumping towards that champion. Seems to be able to win out against Ornn lanes even by picking lethality Jace for some reason, which is just crazy. As Tarzan being targeted here by DAMWON, the Thresh to be banned away. So DAMWON do have a Felios available, and this isn't the old nuclear DAMWON. This is Ghost's DAMWON, so that Aphelios first pick should be coming in here.
Yeah. I would imagine that should come up any second. The only other alternative would be Kalista to get picked up first, and now here we go. That's going to be an instant response. We might just see Kalista Yep, there it is. All right. Well.
Yeah. Looks like we're in predictable mode so far. It's almost like nothing has changed, as we were, in fact, on 10.6 last week. It feels like the priorities are certainly still there, as Nogri does have the set available to him, but it's going to be Canyon's Jarvan that's locked in first, and there's the Braum to be used to try to mitigate what the Kalista turret can do. Also a pre-counter to Ornn, interestingly.
Yeah, it is a bit of a pre-counter, in the sense that his shield can block the Ornn ultimate, but maybe Griffin will just lock it in. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Who are they kidding?
Yeah, let's try and hide Sword as much as possible. Putting him on on Ornn seems to be the way that they've done it in the past, and it's honestly the best that Griffin's looked with Sword on the roster is when they can get their hands on this champion, because Sword was basically a one-trick for the longest of times. Yep. On the Ornn, even when he was out of meta. So good to see that Sword's able to actually pick up a comfort pick here. And we'll see what DAMWON have cooked up for us, right? Because this is going to be all about what their counter picks can actually do based on having only one pick left remaining for Griffin. So Griffin trying to hide what their intentions are, while DAMWON looking to really strike with some uncounterable lanes, which could be difficult here as we look to see what's going to be banned out next. The Silas taken away just as that Ornn protection, and it might just be Jace to come in afterwards, as there's the Nocturne, interestingly.
And with Silas also being banned away, perhaps Griffin is going to focus on just trying to protect top lane, and they are. Kali going to get banned away as well, so they're trying to make things as easy as possible for Ornn. Now, even if Jace does end up coming in, Ornn does have a pretty good time. Jarvan in the jungle plus Jace means lots of value out of early game armor stack, and getting a Bramble Vest early would also be super efficient. And Griffin, with their R1 through R3 right now, Kalista, Taric, and Ornn, they're really well positioned against DAMWON if DAMWON keeps going on to a dive type of team composition with the J4 and the Braum, because Taric just completely loves anyone that tries to do that to his teammates. Defensive Ornn ultimate's really strong. Griffin probably want to lock in jungler here. Most likely. That also retains flex pick on the Ornn. Not that that's probably what they're going to use.
Yeah, and there's the Gragas. A possibility for a Yasuo, of course, because they have a fair bit of magic damage still with this composition. Now DAMWON with their choice. We've got Azir, LeBlanc, and Zoe all available. Somehow. At this stage of the draft, Showmaker thinking about the Birdman in the mid lane, as I have to imagine that it's going to be Nogari's Jace immediately after this. It would be very stable and very comfortable lanes here for both Nogari and Showmaker, as the Azir is locked in.
Well,
wait for the Aatrox, dude. What do you reckon?
No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. You know that it's
Day
coming.
one, game one has to happen, right?
Right. I mean, there's no better pick here, Alice.
Oh, thank goodness. Nogari did actually go towards that comfort Jace pick that he's been picking into the Ornn. We'll see whether he continues to go down the lethality path. It has been what he's been going for, even if he's against an armor stacker. He just doesn't seem to care about it, because it means that in the mid game, he can eliminate an 80 carry with one Shock Blast, which is what he really likes. As that is the Yasuo being looked at. Remember, Yukal is a legacy Yasuo player, which is why we sort of assumed that could be an opportunity, but we're looking for another melee assassin style champion in the mid lane, and it certainly fits Yukal's playstyle, as Kiana is locked into the Azir.
So the Kiana comes in, I think, as well. I'm not entirely sure why the Kiana comes in, but the Jarvan is obviously there, so the Cataclysm can work against DAMWON in the later stage team fights. The thing that's so peculiar about this is that Qiyana is going to be full of sin in this game. She's not able to do anything against the Azir in mid lane in isolation. And the Gragas and Qiyana now, they're going to be under a bit of pressure. Ornn will have some pretty good ornaments this game. Zhonya's Hourglass will have a lot of effectiveness against DAMWON's champions, the Jace, the Jarvan, Aphelios.
Yep, Might of the Ruin King also pretty good.
Might of the Ruin King, really good. Yumu's Wraithblade on the Qiyana, she does get a lot of value out of that. But this R5 out of Griffin just feels very out of place because they pair an assassin with a team composition that is very bulky and durable. Kalista obviously with the Taric, able to do quite a lot. And then if DAMWON tried to engage onto them, they could have just held a Phalanx. They could have picked a control mage and tried to go that blow for blow. But now they've entertained a lot more variants, and I think that it makes their draft a lot weaker against DAMWON's than it needed to be.
Yeah, I also feel like DAMWON do have a very well-rounded draft in what they have available to them. The Aphelios is going to be pretty safe. I mean, the peel from Jarvan, Braum, and Azir, of course, with Emperor's Divide working out very, very well to try and split up the battlefield. I think that this is going to be a game where Ghost can carry, and we'll see whether he does as we get onto the Rift for the first game between DAMWON and Griffin. Griffin in desperation mode, trying to escape that relegation, and they are guaranteed relegations if DAMWON wins here, because they don't have any points, and they'll never be able to get to 6 wins unless they win every single one of their next matches. And Afrika, remember, they are in that race for relegations. They're already on 6 wins. This is dire straits for Griffin.
Well,
good band, by the way.
Yeah, they very, very nice segue there.
Thank you.
Very nice. Not quite as good as TFT Mobile, but
oh yeah, I mean Dududunga is a little bit different.
Yeah,
I went and had dinner with Brendan, with Mr. Valdez, because he got a new cat, Charlie. So I went to go and see Charlie. Charlie's so small, man. It's the smallest cat I've ever seen. I thought, because I inherited my cats. My girlfriend has had them for 8 years before she met me.
Okay.
And so I thought our cat Bibion is very small, but he's an adult cat. I'd never really, it was my first cat experience, right? And so I thought he was the smallest cat possible. Not true. 100% not true. As Noguri is well and truly behind enemy lines here. As he jumps onto Tarzan, he's going to have to flash a wall, but he's going to have Yukal there waiting for him. Flashes over. Yukal's going to be here, but they're not going to be able to get the kill. Noguri just losing half of his health bar.
Now, the thing is, Noguri, he loses half of his health bar, but Gragas is just now starting his red buff. So the other thing here is, I believe, okay, Yukal just rolling like a god, I guess. Really?
Yeah, not losing any of those minions as far as experience is concerned, but he's still going to suffer here. The Sand Soldier's doing some work.
So, Yukal doesn't want to lose any of the CS, so he walks up. Showmaker did take a lot of damage as well, obviously drawing a lot of minion aggro from those Spellcaster minions. Tarzan's going to start up the Raptor camp now, but good pathing by Canyon does the red into blue of Tarzan. And you can see the pings going down on the minimap, trying to alert the teammates.
Yep. I think it's really intelligent pathing there from Canyon, immediately flexing to what he sees on the other side of the map, understanding that, you know, that both solo lanes and the jungle were towards the top side, so he was free to roam into the enemy jungle. And now going to move on over, looking for a bit of an invade here, as he does spot where Tarzan is. This is hyper aggressive out of Canyon. I love seeing this early, as he's now just waiting for his flag and drag to come off cooldown. Will find Tarzan here as the flash immediately comes out, but Tarzan's going to lose so much. All the experience, his Krug camp going to belong to Canyon now. This is a disaster for Tarzan, already with his flash down.
It's already a bit of a nightmare, because also now they know that Tarzan, he only has 8 CS. They have a rough idea of when the Raptors are, well, they have an exact idea of when Raptors are respawning. They know exactly when Golems are respawning. Everyone is playing with map packs. If Beryl and Ghost just crash in this wave, if they don't trade with the opponents, they recall, the wave's going to come back into them. They would fade a Gragas gank, but instead, they're not going to get a clean crash. They're actually just going to place a ward and stay inside of the lane. So, a little bit surprising of a decision. This opens up the possibility for something to go wrong down in bottom rather than just avoid it. But again, everyone's playing with map packs. Now, Canyon putting on a bit of a clinic.
Yeah.
Coming over, he's going to take the right-hand side Scuttle Crab, and Tarzan is so suffocated in this jungle right now. He finally dings level 3. He's going to hit the Scryer, get the bad news on the Scuttle Crab, and he is just so far behind.
Yeah, this is insane. This is a double Scuttle 3 buff. The play that Score popularized in sort of the height of his power. Really impressive stuff. This reminds me of that Score Kindred game where basically you watch that VOD if you want to learn how to play jungle perfectly. It was just amazing what he did there. And this is similar out of Canyon. Of course, capitalizing on an early mistake from Griffin, which wasn't even necessarily a mistake because they got a lot of damage onto Noguri. But still, this has been incredibly impressive out of Canyon.
Yeah, so far the early game has just been really smooth. You can see Tarzan, he's looking to Sin right now, but Sword is only level 5, so Nuguri would have to make a pretty big blunder. Now, the dynamic of this matchup is Ornn historically countered Jace. When Jace was a really powerful champion, Ornn was one of the few that could go top lane, go even against him due to the way that Ornn can sustain inside of the lane. And they're trying to set something up. Obviously, Gragas has Predator. Nuguri refusing to let these minions go into the turret seems to be pretty aware.
The jig is well and truly up right now as he has no flash, remember. Bonks UCal into the wall, but he's still going to be able to get that first blood. Nice clean dive as Canyon going to start off on this Mountain Drake on the bottom side. But first blood going to Griffin, that's going to mean a gold lead.
Currently does have the gold lead. Now Kiana does miss a bit of XP down in bot lane, or in mid lane, as Showmaker does get the crash. Griffin, Tarzan is only still level 3. Canyon just picks up the Mountain Dragon, which is really valuable against the Kiana.
Yeah,
and even early
Tarzan
on,
might not be able to get this.
Yeah.
As Noguri's moving in, teleport to try and save him there as Sword.
Oh!
Gonna come all the way down here, but Showmaker's in position. Only level 5, won't have the Emperor's Divide, but now Sword broken off by the rest of his team, and there's the acceleration gate. A flash has to be used, and Sword, that was not an ideal teleport.
No, it's absolutely not ideal. And Canyon coming over here.
He's just hunting Tarzan right now.
Yeah, he ends up finding Sword, places a control ward. That one's going to go down immediately, but the damage is really being done inside of the jungle. Tarzan, he only has 4 camps right now inside of him. And you take a look at this replay here, Sword trying to get the minions to go into the turret so that this is less risky. However, Nuguri doesn't have any flash, so with the roam from UCal, they're able to bring him down. And meanwhile, elsewhere on the map, I mean, the Kalista, she's not doing that bad down in bot lane, and she currently does have an advantage, so even though the camera's not really panning down there, Griffin are still finding success. Kiana picked up the Tiamat. She'll be able to wave clear a little bit more efficiently, but with every Azir recall, things do begin to get a little bit more scary. It looks like also Seeker's Arm Guard might be the first item for Showmaker, and with that Mountain Dragon, that's really going to help against Kiana.
Yeah, and also just going to be able to scale very well, especially considering the fact that you do want to be building the Zhonya's Hourglass this game. Showmaker going to be difficult to one-shot for UCal. And if this Azir can continue to hold on to this CS lead, it's going to be very difficult for UCal to be able to get these solo kills and get the control in that mid lane that he's looking for as this sort of mid-game powerhouse lethality user from the mid lane. And what it's doing is it feels like it's setting up Noguri to be able to just own a mid-game against Viper and UCal specifically, because they're going to take so much damage from these shock blasts. And of course, Noguri's going towards the lethality build that he loves so much.
And the way that...
Wow! These graphs, man! What is this? Off the charts! Unbelievable stuff. That was amazing.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it
graphs
as
like
much as
that
you
in
did.
the LCS? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think
we're not
so.
off the charts like that over in LCS.
I do sometimes see blown up mini maps. That's a thing.
That's true.
You seen
that's
that in the LCK?
We don't. We're looking to try and get our hands on that. That's a franchising thing. Once you get franchising, that's when you get blown up mini maps and stuff like that. It's just one thing that we'll earn over time.
Well, hopefully, yeah, God.
I was just going to say that I don't think that this is what Griffin really wants to happen on the bottom side of the map. Ghost is free farming on the Aphelios, moving towards those 3 items that he's looking for. As Yukal's roaming down, he's understood the value of focusing on this bottom side, as that's a very early flash, but it's going to get them out of trouble, as now Irove going to be in some himself, as the Crescendum picked up there by Ghost, but unable to stack up the Chakrams just yet, as Yukal going to move back to the mid lane. Tarzan going to taxi Showmaker backwards. Really nice shifting sands to get into safety. But Canyon, whenever Tarzan shows on the map, Canyon takes something.
Yeah, and one of the things that is happening in this game is Tarzan, even though he's managed to salvage the XP gap, well, hold on, actually, Nuguri might just be dead.
Yep, Ornhorn does come in. He still has flash available, remember, as Canyon's going to move on in here. Acceleration Gate doesn't even have to flash, as Noguri just wanders back to the minions. But that is a Cosmic Radiance on the bottom side of the map, used for basically no reason, as now Beryl and Ghost will make sure that Viper and Irove have no access to these minions on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and
Noguri, back in base.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. Obviously, the Kiana is actually doing a fairly good job at keeping up in the CS department, all things considered. Boots of Swiftness also picked up on her. We're seeing a lot of players do this now when they would like to have Boots of Mobility, but prefer the middle ground to just the sheer movement speed inside of combat as well as outside of combat. So
yeah, as an assassin, movement speed is so incredibly important. So I like the idea of having it in combat.
And in mid lane, Showmaker, I mean, he's not achieving all that much. He hasn't even managed to get a turret plate yet. Yukal, once he ends up clearing all of these minions as well, I mean, it's not as bad as a mid lane state as one would expect after the opening, after everything that's been happening to Tarzan. And so the camera, it hasn't been panning a lot to mid lane. But with all the shoving that he's doing, Kiana's movement speed, the Tiamat, the wave clear, everything that she has, Yukal's really managing this a lot better than Showmaker, who hasn't been able to achieve anything yet. Now, Ocean Dragon's up, they're getting that right now. Obviously, if you're DAMWON, you're hoping for an Infernal to come up next. It's going to be Cloud, bad news bears.
Oopsies. But that's okay. I mean, they still do have ways of proccing the Cloud Soul pretty nicely if they do get there. It's especially good on the Aphelios, who will have that extra mobility after that Moonlight Vigil is popped. So always useful, but certainly not what they were looking for. They would have loved the Infernal Soul. As Viper dashing around here, does find a Ren set. Gets a bit of damage onto Ghost, but nothing to worry about here for the DAMWON bottom lane.
Azir ends up resetting yet again. It looks like it's not going to be a full-on Zanya's Hourglass completion. Just going to have the Seeker's Arm Guard as the first item, sit on it, which will give him value against the Kiana and the Kalista. So the way that this game currently sits is not a whole lot has transpired, and that's really surprising given how far behind the Gragas was, and all things considered.
There's the flash, another barrel going to be used as a taxi there for Showmaker, but Cleanse and Flash now on cooldown.
Canyon trying to come up to top lane. I mean, he has the Rift Herald. This is a bit of a scary situation for DAMWON, because in the mid game, the Kalista, Gragas, Ornn team composition with the Taric, it will be really oppressive with the Taric ultimate up. There's not going to be enough items yet on the Azir or the Aphelios to really threaten Griffin before the team fight totally transpires. So Griffin are actually in a really good spot here at 13 minutes, and a lot of this is due to the draft. I mean, Sword might find a way to die right here.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to, as we've got the Ornhorn that comes down, but Sword is, this is a pretty quick journey to the Death Chamber. I mean, Tarzan's going to come up, Searing Charge, gets Sword to safety, and now Yukal turns up. There's the Flash. Canyon gets on over, but there's no way that he can save Noguri, and that was all turned on its head.
And, okay, meanwhile, down in bot, I mean, we have a trade happening here as well. Taric does have ultimate.
Yeah, there's the ulties, double coming out of DAMWON, but Cosmic Radiance looking to try and turn this one around. Irove now going to get out of that safety, and it is going to be with DAMWON still having some control here. But Rift Herald is going to get spawned in the mid lane as it was about to time out, so not able to get the value that they were looking for there. As Irove and Viper down to about half health here, and DAMWON not able to get any of the plates that they're wanting either underneath this turret. as Shelly will turn up. Still has 30 seconds before those plates do go down. We'll see whether she's going to get stopped before getting a charge, as there's the Emperor's Divide onto Tarzan, trying to get Shelly towards this turret, but Showmaker didn't have flash, and those turret plates do go wanting because he died just before the charge occurred.
And that was the most peculiar decision that one could have ever made, obviously, in mid lane. He's going to end up going down. Kiana now 3-0-0, going to end up having now a CS advantage over the Azir. And Griffin are sitting pretty right now, 600 gold lead. And they must be feeling pretty comfortable. Ornn with an experience lead over Jace up in the top lane as well.
Yeah, the focus onto Nogari certainly has been working out, and Sword just durable enough to keep himself alive here. And being able to hit back the Ram right there as Nogari did try to boost him out of position was really pivotal in that moment, as there's the flash ulti, and all too easy there for Yukal to come and pick up that kill. This was just weird though, as Showmaker was trying to pick up Sword as well with that ulti, and he knew that Yukal was coming back. That was just an unforced error.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit overeager by the Azir. He knows that Canyon's there. He's thinking that he can alley-oop them into the Jarvan to follow up with the combo, but really peculiar decision. And now as we're evolving into the game is moving into the mid-game state, you have the Umbral Glaive on the Kiana. She's going to be able to control a lot of vision. Jace might just die again.
Yeah, but no knock up there with the Searing Charge. Didn't manage to get the little pillar in place. So Sword just going to put that ulti on cooldown for now. And Ghost going for the Mystic build here on the bottom side. Going for the Infinity Edge first instead of the Essence Reaver, like a lot of our Felioses. Wants to get himself to more of that 100% crit mark. As now Yukal taking a bit of damage, but Showmaker going to have to get out of here. Great ulti into the wall there, but the immediate cleanse as Showmaker trying to get the damage, but Tarzan looks to be going down here, and Canyon's going to be able to grab that kill as Yukal went stealth, and Canyon not going to be able to find him there with the knock-up, but it looks like the Azir going to have to go home yet again, and Sword in position in case Yukal is going to get any more attention. Canyon's been getting a lot of farm here from these lanes, as his laners do have to go home a lot, it feels like.
Yeah, Canyon is in a really comfortable position right now as the Jarvan. Cloud Dragon is up as well. Tarzan not going to be able to come over to this. Now, even though this is a Cloud Dragon, it can't totally be scoffed at because they're managing to bring this game to Soul Point at 21.5 minutes, which is absolutely unholy in terms of speed, and that means that we have a very early Elder Dragon potentially that can also end up coming up in this game, and that would be really key for DAMWON to try to end up killing Griffin, but it could also be a Hail Mary for Griffin as Sword is looking to pick up the first turret of the game on this Ornn. He has Sunfire Cape, almost has the Abyssal Mask as well, and things are gonna start getting scary. He's almost level 13, he'll get the ornament upgrades, he'll be able to start giving over items, and those should all come in by the time the Cloud Soul is up, and that's going to be the team fight where Griffin, in theory, should be pretty favored.
Well, we'll see whether they can. I think what I'm doing is I'm looking at Ghost as the difference maker in this game, because the Aphelios got a free lane. That's what DAMWON got out of their early pressure. They were able to make sure that the Aphelios had no pressure on him because Nogari was soaking all of it. So we have a look at this replay for a little moment. It was a great cleanse there out of Showmaker to allow him to continue getting damage down. But nothing that Yukal could do to protect Tarzan in that moment. He does go down. But Yukal holds onto the flash. In fact, every summoner spell is available here for Griffin. And we're still waiting for a cleanse and a teleport out of Nogari and Showmaker. But Griffin, like you were talking about, they're feeling very, very comfortable at this point in time. And Sword, like you were talking about, very close to getting those ornaments, now level 12. Only needs a couple of levels before that one. Those are going to start being divvied out amongst the Griffin members. But Infinity Edge is done. Ghost is strong on this Aphelios right now.
And the thing is that Griffin, the Kiana that ended up coming in, so far it's not showing any problems inside of the game. In fact, she's in a fantastic spot right now, and Kiana aside, Griffin do have a very strong mid and late game draft. They have enormous amounts of scaling. And the pivot back ends up being around 4+ items. That's when the Aphelios, the Azir, just sort of deals so much. Looks like Nuguri might end up dying here. Shouldn't actually flash.
Yeah, he's just going to try and get as much damage onto Sword as he can, but there's just a knock-up party and he is going to die. No flashes necessary on Griffin's side. He was just pushed up a little bit too far, but did get solo gold on that turret, and he's trying to get himself to his 2 lethality items that he just picked up then. So still, in these mid-game fights, he's going to do a lot of damage to both UCAL and Viper, but this Jace isn't at the point that DAMWON want him to be at this stage of the game. And we talk about the Nuguri 0-2 power spike. This is the 0-3 power spike, and it's not quite as strong. Is now looking for a dive here towards the bottom side. Do you want to be diving onto the Taric is the question, and DAMWON answer no for now. 2 minutes until the Cloud Drake is available, as Tarzan looking to grab the first neutral objective for Griffin here on the map, as Shirley has been taken down now. And Griffin will be able to use her to try and get even more map control here in this game. They have a whole lot of control right now.
Yeah, and it's important to use that second Riftchild in order to raise the Zer's mid-tier 1 turret, because without that, you take a look at the team composition, there's no real way to siege or poke by any means, so they're entirely reliant on DAMWON coming out of their base or overextending, sort of like what we're seeing Nuguri do right here, because he has a hot date. That's why he's trying to get up the top lane to get those minions. And in doing so, he's overextended enough. Tarzan ends up coming over, collapsing on him from behind, end up picking up the kill for them. So Ornn should be able to get to the Abyssal Mask. Perhaps on this bot wave he'll have enough gold to end up completing it. He'll have both the ornament upgrades for himself. Not actually sure if he's going to be able to ding level 14 and give the Might of the Ruin King or the Yumu's Wraithblade over to UCAL or Viper, but we'll see what ends up happening. Looks like Zanya's going to be second on the Azir. That's going to be really key for the fight, but again, not sure if Showmaker is going to be able to have the item itself, but he effectively does have it. He has all the components plus a stopwatch, so for the most part, it is Zanya's. It might be Zanya's at home, but still Zanya's.
Yeah, and he has his Seeker's Arm Guard already fully stacked as well, so that's going to just increase the base stats that you do have. Not exactly item slot efficient at the moment, though, but I'm looking for Showmaker to try and build himself some mana items as well, because he's not able to stick around for too long without burning through that mana without even just a lost chapter being completed. My favorite Azir build is to just sit on a lost chapter and then complete the Nashors, but he had to sit on his Seekers instead. And we'll see how it's going to go, as he's now going to go back to base, completes the Zonyas, grabs a couple of control wards, and he's battle ready right now, alongside Ghost as well, who does have his Runar's Hurricane. That's a lot of damage potential here on the Aphelios, but a little bit late on the return, as Shirley is going to get a big charge here into the mid lane, and the Cloud Drake is available. Griffin stacked up as 5, ready to fight.
Griffin are definitely the ones that are going to be in the driver's seat right here. Sword does have his Abyssal Mask, so it has been upgraded. DAMWON are, you know what, Atlas? Heads or tails?
I guess that's what we're looking for. But they are going to back away from it immediately. Viper moves on over to this Cloud Drake instantly after he sees DAMWON start that one up. And it looks like DAMWON not going to be able to lock down a Cloud Soul just yet, but they don't care about Griffin taking a Cloud Drake right now. They have absolutely no worries at all. I mean, having the Cosmic Radiance available again, I guess, a little bit sooner is good, but otherwise not too much to worry about as far as giving that one away and wanting to be in a better position on the map before they fight for anything. But as this game goes on, Griffin are just going to get stronger and stronger as Canyon.
Yeah,
able to flag and drag out if he wants to.
Ends up taking a couple of hits from Baron.
And Beryl also just gets exhausted for some reason. Sword just cycling through his summoner spells a little bit there. Does have the unsealed spellbook, of course, so not too much of a worry. Is Viper going to clear out the Raptor camp and everything going to calm down yet again? But this is Griffin in full control. They're not doing too much with it. They are the greatly reluctant fighters, as we know. And so that playstyle is working in their favor at this point in time, because if you're the greatly reluctant fighters, you want to have a late game scaling composition and do nothing until you're strong. And that's precisely what they're doing.
Absolutely. As Nuguri, I mean, he's not going to ever be able to move this Ornn in the side lane. Ornn's going to start bullying him now. As looks like Sword building stone plate on Ornn. talk about this quite a lot, as it really, this is again one of those regional differences in terms of itemization. You get the stone plate for yourself on the Ornn, you cast it, you're a lot more durable. You're not doing a whole bunch for your team. And honestly, do you really need more armor and magic resist when you're already exceeding 300 because of Ornn's passive as well as just all of his upgrades?
I think Warmogs would have been really good here, actually, because he's against the Noggery poke that's going to be flying in. Almost guarantees that he's going to be at full health in a team fight. But I don't know. I'm just a lowly play-by-play.
Well,
would have preferred that item, personally.
Knight's Vow also really good. You just make it that much harder to kill the Callista, lock it to the Iron Solari, obviously another item. Even getting Redemption, because of the way that these two teams end up fighting, it helps Ornn a lot. It gives them CDR, gives you an offensive ability as well as an AoE heal for your team. So Stoneplate itself, I always ask people to just watch what the champion ends up doing whenever they activate the ability. And more often than not, they just sort of run around and targets just ignore them because they're not dealing any damage anyway. Typically, after you've activated the Stone Plate, you've already used your abilities, so they're all on cooldown. It's not like you're actually getting any benefit out of the extra size and HP and whatnot for CC. So we're gonna be in the lull state right now, Atlas.
Yeah, we're just chilling. You got about 2 minutes until any sort of action is going to happen. DAMWON still wanting to try and find their avenue of attack, as Ghost is very close to 100% crit. But that's an Oblivion Orb that Showmaker picked up. He's allergic to mana. He just doesn't really want to have any mana this game. Wants to make sure that he keeps his mana bar at a comfortable level and then starts a fight instead of using his abilities to clear out minion waves, things like that, as he's now going to shift some sands towards the top side of the map. Speaking of Warmogs, there is one that was just completed there by Canyon. So I guess he can feel free to start off things like the Baron if he would like to and then pull away because he can tank and then regen very easily. Does give them some flexibility in that regard. Don't mind the pickup.
Well, this is just going to be a waiting game now for the Azir and the Aphelios. I really like what Showmaker just did. He picked up an Oblivion Orb. You can notice there's virtually no magic resistance on the enemy team. I mean, Gragas does have a null magic mantle. That was a beautiful shock blast. I do believe that Sword did like
damage,
the tickle.
didn't it? He did A damage. One singular damage.
That was impressive. That's full lethality Jace right there against the Ornn. And we're just playing ping pong. This is our favorite sport here. Yep. And it's important. During this time, it's important. You gotta figure out ways to exercise, and what better way than ping pong?
Well, I mean, I think you're exactly right. You know, when we're experiencing all of this social isolation and all that sort of stuff, you got to try and find your way to get some sort of body movement happening. And, you know, ping pong, you wander around the top of a table. You go to collect balls when you miss a shot, you know, that sort of thing. I think that ping pong's, you know, it's more exercise the worse you are at the game, to be honest. Because, you know, you're dashing around trying to find the balls that you haven't been able to hit back. So we'll see whether they're going to be good at this game of ping pong. And from what we've seen, our LCK team's pretty practiced when it comes to bouncing waves back and forth.
Yeah, they absolutely are. 10 seconds now until Cloud Dragon is going to be coming up, as we're going to fight over Vision, and maybe DAMWON want to get this one. There obviously is still the argument that, okay, well, does 10% CDR again for Griffin really matter? The answer is no, not really. And again, if they let Griffin take the Cloud Dragon, it delays the spawn of Elder, which could be dicey for DAMWON now too. But in the same light, can also be looked at as maybe one of the only ways they could realistically win a team fight, because as it currently stands, Azir's only at 2.5 items. We mentioned earlier, it's going to be around 4 to 5 items that the Aphelios and the Azir just sort of Shrek everyone on Griffin before the team fight even breaks out. And obviously I'm referencing the Sand Soldiers, or just an Aphelios opening that can get everyone low, because you can just see right now, Ornn doesn't care. He just gets tickled by the damage. He's still way too durable. And the ornaments are coming in on everyone. So things are very scary right now. Viper will get that Cloud Dragon. DAMWON look like they have no clue what to do. And this is a really beautiful example of a draft problem coming to fruition. And one of the things I always say on the broadcast is, DAMWON walk away from this game victorious or in defeat, what the hell are they thinking to themselves in review? Oh yeah, this was fine as their house is on fire in 25 minutes? Or not totally sure.
Well, they were able to play out the early game pretty effectively with this composition that did want to aim towards the late game. That being said, DWG didn't really challenge them too much after having absolute control of the jungle in the earlier stages. Just not able to convert it to anything at all as this game continued. So unfortunate there for DWG, but still, I mean, they're not out of it yet. It's 400 gold's not going to mean too much, and they still have an Aphelios who does some pretty silly things as the game goes on. Now with 3 items complete, in fact, is ahead of Viper as far as itemization is concerned. I think Viper's sitting on a fair bit of gold in his back pocket there. As you can see, he's close to 20 CS in the lead, still sitting at 0-0-0 for these 80 carries. So likely that he's going to go back, complete his Bloodthirster, and look to move further forward. And there we go. Does do that exactly as I was talking about. A couple of control wards there in his back pocket also, as we do have the Zhonya's upgraded, the Tarzan, and still waiting for the Yumu's Wraithblade, but that should come in the next level for Sword.
Well, the support, not sure. I imagine that Irove will end up getting a Salvation as his ornament upgrade, as Last Whisper is being built next by Ghost.
Yeah, wants to be able to kill Sword, I guess.
Yeah, I guess to kill Sword as well as just have a little bit more damage against the Gragas as well. Okay,
Canyon is in position. Yeah, Canyon is certainly out of it as there is the Cosmic Radiance. Ornhorn comes in as Sword gets the double knock up there on Beryl and Ghost. As Showmaker now standing tall. There's still a lot of damage potential here from Ghost, but now it seems like Griffin are moving towards the Baron as they have taken down the enemy jungler.
And remember, they do have the Kalista. Kiana does seemingly have a flank available. Yukal looking for it.
Yeah,
and now Griffin.
Some pretty good guns.
Yeah.
Looking to see whether he can get in position, though, as yes, Sword is a bit of a brick wall at this stage of the game. Ghost standing over to the side. They do know that this Baron is being taken down, as in fact Ghost is helping Griffin as he put that sentry turret into the Baron pit. Another one does go down here as Ghost just looking to try and stack up these chakrams. He doesn't have too many of them as Moonlight Vigil does come in, but Yukal being found on the side. He's going to be taken down there as Ghost just trying to stand tall, but the Dazzle will get the stun. Flashes, but unable to actually do anything now as Nogari trying to do what he can. Beryl looking to get out of there as Canyon has found his way in, but no knockup is going to come down, and the Shock Blast can be soaked there by Sword, and Baron was taken successfully by Griffin.
Griffin, they get the Baron, they propel themselves to a really big gold lead. And then the other thing about that team fight is they invested a lot less resources in terms of summoners. And just take a look at Canyon. You ask yourself, why is he over here? He can't get the knockup. They know about Yukal on the left-hand side. He's just in no man's land and perhaps a bit flustered with all the posturing, but this is a byproduct of what they wanted to pick coming into this game. And take a look at this. Ghost, he ends up getting hit by Ornn's knockup. That never should have happened.
Yeah,
he ends up getting chain CC'd. And Aphelios, if he makes his way out of that, he'll light them all up. During that, Canyon will be able to arrive to the fight. Griffin should be able to turn that around. So, the unfortunate situation now is Griffin are the ones in the driver's seat. Ornn can give over the Yumu's Wraithblade as well to the Kiana. She's going to end up going Edge of Night as her 4th item. And everything's just getting more and more scary right now if you are a DAMWON fan, because it's really looking like they might just lose this game.
Yep, it's not looking good for them at this point in time. Griffin obviously playing with a lot of desperation, as this does mean that they stay alive and keep themselves out of the relegation zone, at least for now, still with some difficult matchups to come. As Showmaker clearing out vision there. This game is not over till it's over. And that's Lord Dominic's Regard now completed by Ghost. Will have a better time fighting against Sword, who's going to cycle a Clarity, I believe. Is now moving into the mid lane. Griffin still with a very small amount of siege potential. So even with the Baron, it is difficult to push down these turrets, as the Cloud Drake is going to once again come alive, and this will mean soul point for both teams after Griffin take this one down. Also means that they're going to have the Ram basically whenever they want it. Yukal's going to have his Supreme Display of Talent at any point, and we're going to have casks galore out of Tarzan. Canyon does put down a control ward as now Viper in this mid lane, trying to get into position. Showmaker doing the same thing as DAMWON just being ran around the rosy just a little.
Well, Beryl posturing right now as DAMWON, I mean, Griffin, they're making their way down to bottom. They want to siege up this. They're not trying to do any sort of 0-1-4. Gragas cast just going to come out immediately to separate. And here comes Ornn.
Yeah, good ram does come in as there's the ulti from Beryl just to deter Griffin from getting any sort of engagement. You can see DAMWON able to keep them away from their inhibitor turrets at least. You can see, can't actually see the Baron power play right now as it has just worn off. But you can see currently moving towards that 4,000 gold lead. Very close to it here for Griffin, but 4,000 isn't that much when you're contending with a Azir and a Felios. I mean, I know that Griffin do have a very good late game comp, right? But Azir and Felios do a lot of damage if they're able to get a team fight that they're looking for. The last one wasn't it, but as we move further into this game, there are going to be those opportunities for Ghost to get the fight that he wants.
Yeah, and the thing is that they're starting to coast towards their fourth item now. Lord Dominik's was picked up on the Aphelios, so Ghost is going to start moving towards his final item. Looks like it will just end up being a Bloodthirster. We'll see what Azir ends up picking up as his next item. Obviously, Liandry's Torment would be really valuable here against some of the champions that are stacking HP on the enemy team, but just the Madness passive in general, super valuable as Jace is the only liability, but he's still really effective against the Kiana, against the Kalista to a certain extent. I mean, she does have the Guardian Angels. She's going to have Taric hugging her inside of teamfights, but Jace's role is just to create opportunity for Aphelios and for the Azir. 3 minutes until the Cloud Dragon comes up. Yukal looking for anything that he can do. And, okay, well, you just saw an example of a Shock Blast. Doesn't really do a whole bunch.
Yeah, not
to
massive
the
amounts. But Nuguri does shred through turrets. So if he's actually able to find some free time in a side lane, it's going to be very, very quick for DAMWON to take down turrets. And in fact, if DAMWON win any sort of team fight in the upcoming minutes, it's going to be the end of the game, just straight up. If they have a minion wave, it's game over. And that's what happens now that you head towards this 40-minute mark. The damage on both of these teams is so high. So that's why they're playing so carefully, right? Because this will mean the end of the game. If a team fight, if there's an ace, it's just game over.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 minutes until Cloud Dragon comes up, and this is Cloud Soul for both of these teams, so this is most certainly going to be contested. As Void Staff was interestingly the fourth item pickup for Showmaker, so not going to be the Liandry's. I'm actually curious to see what the MR values is of everyone on the enemy team. Obviously,
there are
Kalista,
a few items, yeah.
Just picked up, yeah, she just ended up picking up the Hex Drinker, which is a really surprising pickup. I would have actually expected a QSS rather than a Hex Drinker.
As Yukal once again getting into flanking position, Sun Turret erected in the mid lane as Ghost is going to clear out minions underneath it. And this might be able to buy DAMWON some time to get towards some form of control around this map. The Baron's alive as well, though. And Canyon is just hunting for Yukal. Yukal's flank positioning has been very good this game, but it's going to take one mistake for this game to be over. And now you can see DAMWON just trying to get into position around this Baron. Yukal lying in wait as this minion wave is being dealt with in mid. This is so intense right now, as nothing has really happened throughout the majority of this game, and it's all going to come down to this and the next engagement that we do see as Nuguri scouting for Yukal. And here's the team fight. Ghost is going to get tagged by that ulti, but Sword is going to send it towards Showmaker instead. Beryl very, very low right now as Nuguri's looking for Yukal. That's going to deny the flank, and Showmaker is getting some free shots. The cast goes into Narnia, really, as Showmaker takes a bit of damage from it, but otherwise he's going to be okay, and Ghost is at full health on the front line. He's trying to get damage here against Griffin, but you can see these ultis are coming back off cooldown so quickly for Griffin. Yeah,
they have 3 Cloud Dragons, so this isn't the end of the world with all the posturing. And now the thing is here is that Showmaker, he's missing a couple hundred HP. Yukal also missing up. What are they doing?
They're starting the Baron, LS. That's what they're doing, but it's going to get taken down very, very quickly. Yukal is spotted. There's now Nogri looking to come on over there. They're flipping a coin once again. Another knock-up as Beryl's going to get taken down very quickly. Yukal in a lot of trouble also, though, but the Aphelios has been closed in on. Yukal survives, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the game. Another Ornhorn comes down as Showmaker. He's going to get tagged by that one right back into the barrel that Tarzan prepared earlier. Really beautiful play. Griffin get the ace, and this will be the game.
Alice, my brain is, it's sort of breaking right now. They were missing HP. They knew the Kiana was behind them for the flank. They were all hugging the wall for a Kiana ultimate.
I think it's a sign of a team that's realized that they've been outscaled, LS. That's what it felt like to me. I don't think that they really had too much of an idea of how they were supposed to win this game, as Griffin will take down the Nexus and will secure the first victory here on this day. On the second last day of the LCK for Spring 2020, Griffin do walk away with a win. And they won their last matchup, which wasn't an easy one, to say the least. So, Griffin on an upswing, but is it early enough, is the question?
Well, that was the most perplexing ending to game number one.
Do we need to give player of the game to Sword?
I
think Yukal gets it, right?
I think Yukal, yeah, I would give player of the game or MVP over to Yukal, because a lot of his early game roams, as well as just staying even against the Azir in lane, not losing any of the turret plates, always being at the right places at the right time, threatening the flanks, was also really valuable. And DAMWON, I thought that they would end up winning despite the draft discrepancy, especially because the R5 Kiana was very out of place. Yukal managed to stay even and end up even getting ahead of the Azir in the early to mid game. So the deficit that I think most people would have expected to occur didn't, and then DAMWON just, they went on complete autopilot, and the plane just, I'm not sure what happened. It stalled, Alice.
Yeah, I think there was a new mountain put in the way of the flight path, and they ignored it. They were like, oh no, we'll be fine. We can just ride through this mountain. It'll be totally okay. It wasn't okay, as this was just Nogri getting shut down early. It's the old school approach to how to take down DAMWON, but they didn't have any sort of answer elsewhere on the map. And honestly, Ghost's Aphelios did basically nothing in this game. Wasn't able to utilize the 5 items that he got himself to in the late game. And, you know, Sword played this particular moment out very, very well. I felt like Yukal was always there, as you can see right here, able to pick up the kills when necessary. And despite things looking a little bit weird at the beginning of the draft for DAMWON, I thought that maybe the Kiana pick wasn't going to be able to get off the ground, but it certainly did. And Yukal having a very, very good game thus far.
Yeah, Yukal having a really good early game and mid game, and then the late game threatening the flanks as well, just being super obnoxious on the Kiana. I can see Sword getting the MVP as well. Yeah. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but a lot of things were really set up for him for success. If you remember the level 1, Nagore losing so much of his HP, if you recall that, as well as just a lot of the stuff did end up occurring up in top lane. And the dynamic of the matchup is also really good for him. And Griffin, they come out and just end up winning the game. This was actually the one fight where Ghost could have carried, could have done things a little bit differently, but got knocked up, flashed away a little bit too late, and DAMWON invested all their summoners here to lead up to this. Now, just take a look at this. And I have no idea. I really can't wrap my head around it, Atlas. I wish that I could analyze this for you, but I really can't. This looks like...
That honestly looked to me like Yukal completely outplaying Nogri and DAMWON. Flashing over the wall, CCing 2 people, and guaranteeing that the team fight was going to be a win. Really beautiful stuff from the Kiana as Tarzan just bops onto the Azir, as we're going to check out the player perspective, as Yukal just watches as the rest of his team does stuff. That was a really weird POV.
Yep, they were obviously a little bit indecisive there. Post-game breakdown, you can see a lot of damage didn't come out from Griffin, But it's the point that when the team fights do break out, it's very slated in their favor. Azir and Jace, a lot of damage, obviously, on the scoreboard because they're always poking their opponents as much as they are during laning phase, during mid-game. But
are we going to
Tarzan
confirm a
also
UCal player of the game, by the way? You still need to confirm.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
There's like 5 different chats that we have open in order to vote for player of the game, and I didn't see it, so I assume it's confirmed. All right, there we go. Nailed it. And here we go. Looking forward to game number 2 to see whether DAMWON on the red side are going to be able to have a better performance. I also think that the draft was a bit weird out of DAMWON, not really respecting the fact that the Ornn will be prioritized, the Kalista Taric will get prioritized. There was a lot of aiming towards Tarzan, and yes, they put him behind early, but he was still able to take control of that game. So we'll see whether DAMWON have a different theory as we move into game number 2 after the break.